Nice recruiting class.
Good start. Good start. We're looking to add some names to that as we move throughout the rest of the year. Of course, as always, track is one of those spring sports, and it's late in the year where they have all the high school state meets. So I think it's a great start. Well-rounded, I think I mentioned there in the press release.
How'd you get a guy like Cooper to come about as far away from home as you could get?
Cooper is a great dude, a really fun kid. Enjoyed talking to him, enjoyed meeting his people, and so good guy.
You said bringing in a 202-800 runner. Have you had somebody come in, a young person like that who's had such a good time?
No.
I'm trying to think what Raven's PR was coming.
Yeah, Raven Phyllis is a sophomore, probably in high school. Laura, maybe close to that. Maybe she's more 205-ish, 4-ish. Anytime you get to those mid 05s, 06, they're really, really talented. And so that's an event area that I think we do a fantastic job in. So,
does it sell itself though too? People wanting to continue in that tradition?
You know what? You would think that to be the case, but no. Kids aren't as enamored with the history and the tradition and those things. It's more about connection and relationships.
What about?
And so I know we have a good tradition and relationships and a bunch of the distance events, and we've found in some newfound tradition in some of those short sprints and things like that. But sometimes it's just hit or miss.
Maybe those 800 kids, just like the event coach.
he's sometimey.
State, maybe not about the history that your recruits care about as much, but I'd imagine you put down a couple renderings of the new Hayward Field, and that makes it a little bit more easy to sell, right?
You know what? Once again, that's one of those things I would have thought as well, but early on we took recruits that we had on campus and we take them over to the rec center, because rec center you kind of up high and you kind of look over at that point in time into the big mound of dirt that they had there at what used to be historical Hayward Field, and didn't quite go over as well as I thought it would. And I don't know if that's lack of imagination or you can't see the forest for the one tree there, which is a pile of dirt. But what we were able to do, we were able to put some stuff in, some drawings and posters and some things that were coming together with the facility, because I've been fortunate enough to be involved in that for some time now. And so knowing the in or out details of everything that's going into the facility and be able to articulate that and explain that, and more so than anything, be able to show them some things. I think kids nowadays are more interactive than anything, and so if we can put something together that is interactive for them to kind of feel and touch and envision themselves there, that started to go over a lot better.
Since construction started, I mean, we've had this discussion since the beginning of the indoor season about what it would be like once this season finally came where you are on the road. Now that it's finally here, does it feel at all different maybe than you thought in the run-up, or different to the kids at all?
Yeah, it's hard. And of course, I've shied away from making that an excuse, because that is what it is, an excuse. I think I said before about the coach back in the 50s, 60s in swimming that didn't have a pool there at USC, and he was able to win an unprecedented number of swimming national titles. And so if they can do it in the 60s, why can't we do it here in the 2019s and 20s? I've had people tell me as well here, we've won 7 out of 9 or 7 out of 10, whatever it is, indoor national titles. We don't have an indoor track, so we find a way to do it. And you asked the question about what it's like now being on the road while we're going. It is hard, but that's not an excuse that we're going to use of not trying to be successful.
This weekend that's coming up, or 2 weekends from now that's coming up, that's kind of become a tradition for you guys, going down to Southern California and doing a bunch of different meets down there on the same weekend. Has it gotten any easier over the years?
Yeah, because we've done such a good job there at that meet and we've had some success, but for us it's just one of the things that falls in our rotation as far as being able to go down there and train and run some decent times there. And of course there's a high school component to that as well, because there's a large contingency of high schoolers there in one of the states that's close to us. And we've used several meets like that. Like we were just at Sun Angel in Arizona, and there was 1,500 meter high schoolers there, so got the chance to see a lot of good high school kids there in Arizona. And we've also used that for Penn relays as well that we traditionally go to. So all of those meets that give us exposure across the country are always great opportunities.
So while it's hard competitively to kind of be on the road for an entire season, is it almost slightly advantageous because of the sheer amount of times you are on the road, maybe cover a larger swath of ground recruiting-wise?
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't say it's bad because, or hard, not bad, because we do such a good job here at Hayward Field. Our fans and our officials are second to none, and so it's a little shame that those freshmen that are on our teams now, and even our upperclassmen and our seniors, aren't going to get that Hayward magic, that Hayward love, either for the first time or for their swan song. And so I'd be crazy not to mention that. So those things make it hard as well. But the way our schedule is set up is to go to a lot of warm weather places. If you look at the end of the season and work back, where are we at? We're at Texas for the national meet, and we're there in June. It's probably going to be a barn burner down there. And so we're trying to prepare our kids. And of course, we're talking about a year ago when we put this schedule together. So that's kind of the nuances that went into making that schedule. So we've been to Arizona once. We're going to go to Arizona again. We're going to go to Sacramento. We're going to be in Texas. So all of our stuff is trying to put us in a situation to be successful and get used to not making the heated excuse.
What are your thoughts on Cravon and what he's done this year, and maybe what you think he's be able to do going forward?
Yeah, most people miss the fact that Cravon has been one of those people that have been on our radar for a long time. I was his head coach for the Pan Am Junior team, where that I was the coach of in Canada. And so got a chance to meet and talk to him there, and we've just stayed in touch there. And he went the junior college route and out of Mount Sac. When he finished there, he was able to come back to us, and we were to get him into school, and he did all the things necessary. So as far as what he's doing this season, it's not necessarily a surprise. He was talented way back then. He's been talented last year. You kind of see him start to scratch the surface. And now after having him for over a year and him kind of learning the system and what we do here, you can kind of see some of the breakout stuff that he's doing.
What were your impressions of him just as a kid back then? And how
oh man, he was all over the place. And I tell him this all the time, is there's still a lot of growing for him to do. But compared to 3-4 years ago, he's leaps and bounds better, and still has to continue to grow and continue to get better.
You just talked about how he likes to do a lot of film study, I guess. He likes to watch different runners and how they start, how they finish, and just their mechanics. Is that usual for track athletes to watch film like that, to study other runners?
Yeah, unbeknownst to most and the public, they think that you just run fast and turn left. Track is much more technical than that, so it is pretty normal for film sessions. We probably have film sessions 2-3 times a week throughout the whole season. There we film something at practice, we film something at the meets, we film almost everything they do, and we're trying to correct some behaviors and some patterns there, because of course you guys know we're a teaching program and a developmental program, and so that just comes along with it. And depending on your learning style, most of the time the visual is huge.
As an athlete progresses through the season and posts marks, do you reframe kind of what you expect the end of the season will look like, or do you tend to keep more of an open mind and just go week to week?
Well,
particular to him, have you changed what you think he can do at the end of the season now?
Yeah, like at first, everything is a long-range plan. Of course, Cravon is a junior college kid, so we have 2 years to kind of iron out all the kinks that we can do. And so when he first came here, it was more so just his mechanics, like just overall mechanics were just bad as far as top-end speed. But this year we kind of focused on his acceleration a little bit, and hence the breakthrough there in the 60-meter dash, because it's all about acceleration and getting out of blocks there. And then we continue to touch on the things that we worked on in the first year, his mechanics and his body bottom end of the race things, and that's just one of those philosophical things there. And you know, that film stuff, it's not necessarily done with me, with Cravon. Coach Taylor is the one that actually coaches him on a day in and day out basis, even though we work together in some groups, but he's the one that is kind of guiding that ship there. And so they watch a ton of film together.
You know him obviously way better than we do just from 5 minutes talking to him. He's talking about his goals, you know, national titles and this and that and the team. Is that just the kind of kid he is, confidence-wise? Has the way he's run recently reinforced some of that or made some of that more realistic than it was?
You know, probably just what you asked earlier. That's where you're seeing the maturation of Cravon and him growing up. Probably more so a quiet, shy type. And as he's been around and continuing to do better and better, the caterpillar is starting to turn into a butterfly. And so those expectations before were probably internal. And maybe he talked to us as far as a staff, as far as goals and stuff, as we talk about those things at the beginning of the year. But for him to move into this new realm, millennial age, I see some of y'all standing around here. He's more into the social media things and starting to put those things out there like that. So for him to sit here in front of you guys and state his goals in public like that is definitely a maturation process for him.
Any good flood stories?
No, not yet. Don't go to Freeze Trail. This is bad right now.
Sub 10 real for him?
Absolutely.
You expect that anytime?
Believe it or not, and he may be mad for me saying this, I think he a little underperformed indoors. We thought that he could be sub 650 in the 60-meter dash, and that's just based on some testing and some things that we did early in the year, like we do with everybody. And so, little some hiccups there and some growing pains there, to where we didn't quite get to where we should be as far as where we extrapolate out of his test results will be. And so when you say sub 10 seconds, I don't know why he wouldn't be able to do that. He opened up his first meet of the year, and of course it was windy by 0.02, but 10:02, 10:04, whatever that was, 10:04. So I'm assuming if he can do that in March, what is he going to do in May or June?